Thanks again for joining us. Once again, this is Bernita James from HUD, and today we will be hearing from three great organizations all doing great work in the space of the digital economy and public housing residents. We will be hearing from the Rockford Housing Authority, SamaSchool, and the HP Life Foundation, describing various ways public housing residents can be skilled for and connected to the modern digital economy. Before we jump in, we have a few poll questions. So if you could just let us know who is on the line today. We're going to keep the poll open for about a minute or so. So if you could respond, that will give us a sense of who we're speaking with. Okay, excellent. It looks like the majority of our attendees are with PHAs. That's at 84%, 13% from nonprofits, and we also have some public housing residents and education providers. Thank you. All right, we're going to close this question, and we've got one more question. So do you think your residents or students are currently involved in the digital economy? And again, we'll give everyone about a minute or so, 30 seconds to respond. Okay, great. So we have some yeses, but we have mostly no's. About 63% are saying no, 37% are saying yes. So that's great. We're hoping that we have some really great resources for everyone today. All right, so we're going to close this question, and then we're going to jump right in. We have a lot to cover today. So our first presenter is Ron Kluwer from the Rockford Housing Authority in Rockford, Illinois. He is the executive director, and he has been instrumental in developing creative community building initiatives at the Rockford Housing Authority. He brings a vision and can-do attitude to his work and the agency with a determination to merge the best practices for both private and public sectors. He has been recognized by the Rockford Registrar Star as one of 13 community leaders to watch and acknowledged as one of 20 people you should know by the Rockford Chamber of Commerce. So we're going to start with him first. So Ron, whenever you're ready.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the introduction and the ability to participate today. Just a bit of a background before we jump into the Choice Neighborhoods Transformation Plan slide you see up there. As a housing authority, we looked at the ways that we could better connect our residents to opportunities to earn money, and knowing the challenges we're having in our community at the time, like many significant challenges around the economy, significant challenges, high unemployment in our area, particularly in our neighborhoods where our housing is located, we often found unemployment rate.
Sorry, Ron, but it's really hard to hear you. Are you?
Is that better? Is it better for you?
It's a little hard to hear you still.
Okay.
Are you on a landline by any chance?
Let's try this. How's that?
Are you there?
Hello? Yes, I just wanted to make sure this was working for you.
If you can call in on a landline, that might help with the sound.
Yeah, let me call in again. Hold on 1 second.
Sorry for the delay. We're just
That
making sure we can hear. Ron, are you there?
is it any better?
A little bit better, yes.
I'm on a landline now.
Okay. This might be the best we can do. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay. Well, I'll talk as loud as possible. How's that?
Sounds good.
Okay. So historically, the employment in our neighborhoods, unemployment in our neighborhoods was incredibly high. Rockford was hit pretty aggressively in the last economic downturn. We knew that we didn't have jobs in our community available for our residents that matched skill sets. So we started to look at, what could we do? And in this process, we were also in the midst of Choice Neighborhoods planning grant and creating this transformational plan. If you would go ahead and stop slides here, please. So in any good planning effort, we wanted to make sure our residents knew what we were leading them through, so that they knew that they had a stake in the game, they had a voice at the table, and that we were there to serve them. And this was the plan we laid out ahead of planning, so they knew what to expect, and that we would through this process be addressing jobs, housing, education, particularly people housing in neighborhoods. Next slide, please. So one of the things that came up was the identity of the housing authority and doing this work. Many folks in the neighborhood had concerns if they weren't a public housing resident in aligning with the public housing agency. We also were working very closely with our local arts on an art-based economic development approach. And so the thought was we needed something that was branded specifically to this neighborhood, and the residents of the neighborhood created this idea of a new mix of partners, a new mix of talent, and a new mix of opportunity. Next slide, please. So this was kind of the mantra of the group. It came from the residents. They were tired of basically being talked about as problems in their community and that their community in itself was a problem. Instead, they wanted to focus on positivity and creative asset development, including themselves. So this was a mantra they came up with and became very important in this effort. Next slide, please. So it's fully branded, had nothing to do with housing authority and all outward appearances. It was all about the folks at the table who were doing the work and really exploring their own creative talent and what they could do with it. We set out with the residents, surveying every household in the community. 1,800 households in the community, 1,400 were door-to-door survey, and we found that there was incredible talent within the community. Next slide, please. So we started looking at, in the top picture there is a Choice Neighborhoods meeting in our public housing development called Fairgrounds Valley. We found that we had a lot of makers. We had folks who could make things. Could be jewelry, could be mirrors, could be picture frames, all kinds of small wood products and other products. And we realized that the best way to promote those would be to sell them online. At the time, and still remaining, Etsy was a growing platform for artisan entrepreneurs who are selling their own products. We wound up, through our mayor, getting connected to the CEO of Etsy and becoming the first city ever to engage public residents in a training platform for Etsy who are willing and able to produce and sell online. Next slide, please. And while we're switching slides, this platform has actually now been replicated in multiple cities, Dallas, Chicago, New York, and Etsy has boxed it up, if you will, and created an online training portal for instructors to teach the Etsy platform, to teach it based on Etsy's principles, and ultimately come out to a community and assist in the growth of an artisan economy, all internet-based. So this was one of the initial SE trainings actually put on by SE staff. Since then, and we currently have another SE instructor going through the online training with SE so that we could start our next wave of classes here next month. Next slide, please. So in any effort we do, we collect the data, and we see that through the data, we were able to change resident incomes in our community, our focus community, from an average of about $1,100 a year, which this was incredibly impoverished neighborhood, incredibly low-income public housing site, now about $6,700 per year household income. And so we know that this isn't for everybody, but for those folks who are at home, perhaps, in educational programs, working to be the best mom or dad it can be, working through other life challenges, it is a good platform for many. And so Juanita's story was incredibly interesting. She became our spokesperson for the opportunity of ETSI in the Arts Council, and took it further and said, I want to go beyond line to really doing art shows and craft fairs. But her Etsy store really was the first one out of the box. Next slide, please. It's essential in any of these that you connect the effort and the outcome with the individual story. Bill was a public housing resident, one of our high-rises, had an amazing wood shop, invited other woodworkers into his shop, created a number of items. Bill has since moved on from the Housing Authority, but remains connected to the Etsy effort, is a good mentor to other artisans, and ultimately one of the most successful salesmen of his products. Next slide, please. So Jamie, public housing resident, scattered sites, had, and she doesn't mind us sharing that she had some significant mental health issues, but they were really reduced by her ability to create. So her ability to create and then sell product gave her the same thing it gave so many others, and that is a sense of worth. And this program, while it doesn't make folks engaged in most cases in living wage employment, it does build on their ability to provide ancillary income, engage in the community, and ultimately change their own story to be a participant of the community as opposed to being excluded from the community. Next slide, please. And so these stories go on and on. The Etsy platform has worked incredibly well. What we found in the way of challenges, though, were internet connectivity, and that's something we're working on now. We're currently Connect Home, the pilot city. We know that not quite 30% of our residents actually have access to broadband internet, and so we're working on creating a greater pipeline of residents, reducing the digital divide, and looking at how do we expand on this internet economy, particularly around the arts, because so many of our folks have creative talents that we don't give them, positive acclamation for, or really build on. And this is a way we found, just one of many, that helps residents see their own self-worth, their own value, and their own ability to change their lives through a meaningful expression of their internal, and their internal artistic qualities in a way that turns it into cash for them, and really has put them on the map as the real inventors of this Etsy public housing platform that, as I said, has now gone national. So that's the bulk of the stories and the Etsy platform. I know I have very limited time. I'm more than happy to answer any questions on what you may have about this initiative and how you may get involved.
Great. Thank you so much, Ron. Since we were having some audio issues, if there are any questions, please type them into the chat box, and we'll do our best to get to as many people as we can. We do have two other presenters, so we would like to maybe spend the next 3 or 4 minutes on taking any questions if there are any. If there are any questions, please type them in.
If there are no questions, I'm more than happy to provide access to some videos for these individual stories, and then also provide the connection to the Etsy contacts so that you're able to reach out to them and consider how you may bring this forward. The investment of time and energy actually is quite low. The cost is very small, and the benefit is huge.
Okay, so I am getting a few questions. So the beginning of your presentation was really difficult to understand. So if you could really quickly just recap what Etsy is and how it helps residents.
Sure. Etsy is an internet-based artisan entrepreneur platform. If you were just to go to Etsy.com, they have thousands and thousands of artisans who have online shops selling the items that they make. We got involved because we were looking with our residents at ways to help them improve their ability to sell items. In a Choice Neighborhoods process, we identified that we had more than 1,400 households that had creative talent that they weren't using, and they wanted to either do something with it to make money or teach it to somebody else.
Excellent. And we had another question. How do I connect with Etsy?
I will send the information in on how to get hold of Graham. Graham is the Etsy coordinator. He helps explain the program, share there's a memorandum of understanding you enter into. They train trainers from your own community who have an interest. And what we found is in every community this has been replicated in, there are already hundreds, if not, several hundred artisan shops that are already in your community on Etsy, and they first look to them as possible trainers.
And are there videos of success stories? That's one of the questions I'm seeing. How can we see those videos of success stories?
Absolutely. I'll go ahead and email them over to you, the links to them, and you can see the individual story expand. It's amazing. The current slide that's up there, the lady in the bottom left is an example. Susan wound up becoming a mentor to everybody that she went through this program with. Now, unfortunately, Susan has since passed. She had cancer, but the interesting thing that happened, and you'll see it in the stories, is it became more than an opportunity to make money. It became a way to connect to your community and build friendships that ultimately were support networks for each of the residents that help them well beyond an economic factor.
Thank you so much. And is there a URL for Etsy? Is it just Etsy.com?
It is Etsy.com, correct.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much. And we do have, like I said, two more presenters. So our next presenter is Lindsay Crumbaugh. She is the Managing Director for SamaSchool, where she leads the program strategy to prepare and connect low-income Americans to work in the digital economy. Oh, I think you had one more slide, Ron.
Yes, that's the end. Thank you.
Okay.
The region would be citywide, county,
Lindsay, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay, thank you so much.
Great. Hi, everybody. My name is Lindsay Crumbaugh, and I'm going to talk about SamaSchool and our program and what we're doing around the digital economy and the gig economy as a way of connecting low-income populations to work. You can go to the next slide, please. So SamaSchool is based in San Francisco, and in San Francisco we see a lot of really innovative technological advances taking place all around us, but at the same time we also are a city and an area that has very stark contrasts when it relates to poverty and the lack of access to some of the opportunities available through the technologies. So what we've seen over the last 5 years or so is that technology is actually increasing the access and opportunities to work. We've seen a lot of companies and a lot of individuals start to find service providers through technological platforms such as Etsy is one, but there's a number of them. Some of you may be familiar with Upwork or Thumbtack or TaskRabbit. There's a variety of different platforms that enable buyers to connect with sellers of products and services. And in order to be successful in these marketplaces and to be able to access these economic opportunities available to individuals, there's a lot of skills that are required that are not traditionally taught in the 9-to-5 job or in the traditional workforce. So there's a lot of work around building skills in building a digital presence and how to communicate effectively over these platforms, and then how to be a good customer service agent and really kind of promote yourself within a vast marketplace. And what we see traditionally is that individuals who tend to be lower income are often excluded from the opportunities that are created through these new technologies. So we're looking to address that through SamaSchool. Next slide, please. So we offer actually both in-person training as well as free online training to individuals to really provide both an introduction into the digital economy, but also to do some very concrete steps into how to be effective and how to access the opportunities available to individuals through the digital economy. And to date, through our online training program, which lasts roughly 4 to 6 hours, we have reached individuals in 80 countries and have trained over 26,000 students. Next slide, please. So what do we cover in this training and what's important? First of all, we want to start off with an introduction to what is online work. There's a lot of different definitions around this, but we loosely define it as work that is facilitated through the internet. And what that means to us is that you can either do work virtually, so in the cases of regions and communities that don't have enough economic opportunities, what that means is that you can access work that transcends the opportunities available in your local community. But there's also an opportunity to use the online economy to access work within your own region. And so there are a number of platforms that facilitate in-person services, and some of you might be familiar with Uber. That's probably the most well-known example of internet-facilitated in-person service that can be offered through these platforms. We also provide training around how to think about whether or not this type of work is the right fit for you as an individual. This work can, in many cases, require a lot of grit, a lot of perseverance. You have to learn a lot of skills around being able to present yourself, as well as continue to sell and pitch either your services or your product. And so there is a lot of work that has to kind of go into building this business using the online economy. And we try and help individuals make a decision around whether or not that is a fit for them. We also go through a lot of the different options and opportunities available through the platforms. So there are thousands of platforms out there. And what we're really trying to do is provide individuals with an overview, but also with access to explore some of these platforms so they can get their hands dirty and really get an understanding for what these actually look and feel like. We also do a deep dive into scams, since this is often, unfortunately, a problem as it relates to any work that's being done online and any transactions that would be occurring online. So we really highlight the most common scams and how to identify those. And then the next 3 sections of our training are really around how to find both the platform that fits your personal needs, but then how to also present yourself in a way that's going to be effective and professional. We then go into how to find and analyze jobs that fit your skill set. So part of the process of our training is to really help individuals think through what is their skill that they can monetize most effectively through these platforms. And so we really focus in on supporting individuals to identify that and also how to think about presenting those skills. And then last, we look at how to get the jobs and secure ongoing work. So there are a number of really best practices around how to, if you're pitching a service, how to pitch that service. And then how to then go in and continue to provide good customer service throughout, as well as obviously a good work product that enables individuals to either secure new clients or sustain work with an existing client. Next slide, please. So this slide is just an overview of what we have seen in terms of some of our outcomes from individuals who have gone through our online training program. And we have seen that a number of folks have registered for online work platforms, and that about 15% of the people who go through the program have been offered online work opportunities. And what I neglected to put in here was some stories. So maybe I can share a few stories around how individuals that we have seen that have been successful in the gig economy have used it. So there's sort of 3 prototypes, or archetypes, excuse me, of people that we've seen that have used the online platform most effectively. So one was an individual named Charles who went through our training program. He had also received training from a nonprofit organization in networking and IT, an A+ certification. He had those skills, but he couldn't find or secure a full-time job because no employers would hire him without prior experience. So what we saw in Charles's case was that he actually was then able to take the skills that he had learned both from his IT networking training as well as our training in how to be an effective online worker. And he actually was able to secure a number of gigs applying his IT networking skills to basically build a portfolio of experience with which he could then leverage to then secure the full-time job. So we have seen that people have used the gig economy as a way to build a digital CV and advance their career. The other way we've seen it used is an individual we trained named Anna, who she lives in New York City, and she provides, she's trained as a cleaner, as a housekeeper, and she was unemployed. And what we saw was that she actually used a platform called TaskRabbit to perform cleaning services as a way to bridge the gap in her income during that period of time. And then later on, we saw that she went on and was able to find work in the hospitality industry as a cleaner. But what she did was use the gig economy as a way to bridge the gap between a period of unemployment. And then the last way we've seen this used is through one of our students. His name is Lavelle, and he's based in East Palo Alto. And he is trying to start his own business, but he needs supplemental income, both just to sustain himself, but also to be able to invest into his startup. So Lavelle actually also went on to TaskRabbit and has been doing a number of different tasks, such as delivering, running errands, as well as kind of helping folks move. There's a number of different opportunities that are available, and there's a lot of different ways with which individuals can use the digital economy. And I think it's important for all people that are interested in pursuing this to really think through how it will fit within their career and how they want to use it to enable or advance what they're trying to achieve. So the next slide actually is just a link to our website and our online training program, and I encourage folks to go in and check it out and sign up and play around with it and see if it's something that would be a good fit for you as well as the folks in your community. And that's it for me. Thank you all.
So much. Are there any questions? If there are, please type them into the chat box and we'll be sure to get to you. Any questions? Okay, so if there are no questions, we can move on to our third and final presenter, Debbie Ledbetter. She is the HP Life Global Program Manager and works for the HP Foundation. Debbie?
Great, thank you very much. You can go ahead and go to the next slide if you'd like. So HP Life is a program that provides quality business and IT skills training for everyone globally and is at no cost. HP Life can be used by students to supplement their learning, by or underemployed to learn new business skills and find jobs or better jobs. It can also be used by inspiring entrepreneurs to start a business or owners of small businesses to help grow their business. This program is supported by the HP Foundation, so it is a purely philanthropic program. Anyone can access HP Life, and it is online, so all you need is an internet connection, and you can access all of the courses. We also have webinars and articles on the line to help you build your business skills. Go ahead, next slide. So far, HP Life, we've went online with HP Life in mid-2012, and we've had over 631,000 users use HP Life in over 200 countries and territories. And what's more, 84% of the participants who responded to a follow-up survey credit HP Life courses with helping them reach their professional goals. We do have 25 interactive courses on the site now in 7 languages. We're soon to have 27 courses. Go ahead, next slide. And I mentioned we have all of our courses are in 7 languages. So if anyone, if English is not a first language and they would like to take courses in another language, they can do that very easily. So as you can see, we're in English, French, Chinese, Arabic, Hindi, Portuguese, and Spanish. Next slide. And we are used everywhere around the world in over 200 countries and territories. And where you see the darker blue are the countries where we have more users. So you can see there are a lot of users from the United States. Next slide. So this is a list of all of our courses. So as I mentioned, we have 25 courses today. We will soon have 27 courses. All the courses are self-paced. You can take them anytime you want to, whatever works in your schedule. They are interactive. They set up a real-life business situation, and you basically learn how to solve that business situation. They are designed around core business competencies. The topic areas we have is startup, innovate, finance, marketing, operations, and communications. We also have resources on the site for trainers and educators. So if you want to take HP Life and actually implement it into a program, you know, we do have resources on the site that can do that as well. And if you want to just learn some basic skills, not necessarily maybe starting up a business, we have some really good just general business skills like business communications, effective presentations, business email, and effective leadership. And users can take one of the courses, or they can take many of the courses, or even all of the courses. And there is no order, so you can, again, take whichever one you want. It is self-paced. You can take it at any time that you want. And there are, since it is a self-paced course, there are hints and guides that help the user complete the course. So since it is self-paced and somebody's not there to face-to-face training, people can, if they get stuck, there are help for them to complete the course. Go ahead, next slide. And one thing I should mention too is that each course takes about 1 hour to complete, so they are short, but a lot of learning in a small amount of time. So this gives you an idea what a course actually looks like. So each course follows the exact same format, and there is a start, and that just gives you a brief overview of what the course objectives are and the components and what you're going to learn. And then there is a story, and the story is based on a real-life business situation, and it talks about a business challenge that this particular business is having. And then you go into the business concept, and those are the principles and strategies to help you solve that business challenge. So you learn new things around maybe cash flow, break-even analysis, social media marketing, how do you get the word out about your business. You learn, and it is interactive, so there's actually case studies and things that you have to do to solve that business situation. And then you go into a technology skill. And so the technology skill is really how do you use technology to help run your business or help the business situation, that whatever business concept that you learn, help enable that through technology. And so just some examples of the technology skills is how do you use communication technologies like Skype or collaboration tools like Google Docs. How do you use those types of technologies? How do you use Excel to do cash flow spreadsheets or break-even analysis? So it's that type of technology that you're actually learning to use. And those are skills that you can take into really any business environment and it really help you. And there is course feedback as well at the end of each course and next steps. So the next steps is really a lot of resources that will help you dive deeper into that particular topic. And as I mentioned, each course is about an hour to take, so they're very short. It's very basic knowledge in each one of the topic areas, but we give a lot of great next step resources to help the person, the user, learn more about that topic. And as I mentioned, we also have webinars that we do, and so the webinars are also kind of further learning in various different topics, and all of our webinars are recorded, so if somebody cannot attend a live webinar, you can actually then go and view the presentation, the recorded presentation, and learn more about that topic area. And all of those recorded presentations are listed in the next steps for that particular course. Next slide, please. At the end of each of the courses, and if you have completed the course successfully, you do get a certificate of completion. And in addition to the certificate of completion, you can also get a transcript. So you can actually show all the courses, HP Life courses that you have completed. So this might be something helpful going into a job interview or on LinkedIn or other ways to show that you're learning new business skills. Next slide. As I mentioned, there are educator tools on the site as well. So, anybody can come and use HP Life at any time, but we also try to integrate HP Life into existing programs. And we have educator tools on the site to help people to actually implement it into an existing program. The next slide. These are some of the educator tools that we have on the site. We have a HP Life overview presentation. We have a quick start guide, course information, and instructor manual. The instructor manual is actually the best. It gives a summary of the actual HP Life course. It talks about what activities are actually in each course, and it also has discussion questions and activities that are recommended to help further the learning in that particular topic area. Next slide. As I mentioned, we do work with partners to integrate HP Life into existing programs. So we work with U.S. community colleges, small business centers, high schools. We also work with entrepreneurship training centers all over the world, women's networks, etc. So some of our partners are listed there. So we work with USAID internationally in developing countries. We work with NACI and Skills USA in the United States. And there are other organizations listed there, and most of those are all kind of international work. We also work with the UNHCR to help refugees in many countries learn new skills. Next slide. Best practices, next slide. The best next practice is really to use Chrome browser. There are many different browsers for people to use, and Chrome is definitely the best, and you'll have the best experience. The other best practice is we are not mobile enabled at this point in time, and so really you do need to use a PC. We are working on becoming mobile enabled, so hopefully later in 2017 we'll be able to be accessed and used from both tablets and smartphones. Next slide. And the last thing is that there is technical support. There's both technical support as well as moderation on the site. From a tech support perspective, we do have email support 24/7, so if any user is having any difficulty, they can email some support and get help right away. We also have live chat on the site 24/5, so again, people can get help live on the site. And then we do have discussion forums for each one of the courses, and we do give kind of instructor support to students as well if they have questions about particular topic areas. And that's all I have for today. And I'd be happy to take questions.
Debbie, and please, if you have any questions, just type them into the chat box. And it looks like I missed some earlier. Okay, so I have one question about HP Life. How is this different than someone going to a higher education school to learn these skills? Will the certificate be acceptable to employers looking for degrees? Is this accredited?
So I'll try to answer that. So first of all, we are used in community colleges as well as high schools, and so we're used as a supplement to a course. So typically a course could be, 12, 17 weeks. We could be used as homework in each one of those weeks. So we are 1-hour courses per topic. So we are not, we're not a complete course that you would get at a university or community colleges, but we do provide very practical, short courses that you can learn a lot about business skills and IT skills that you can use in your business or for a potential employer. And as far as using these certificates, it really is just to show that you have completed the course. It is not accredited, but it can show the employer or potential employer that you are actively learning skills in particular areas.
And this is Dina. I would add that the HP logo is pretty much recognized, worldwide. So it's the fact that the coursework has that logo behind it means that a reputable organization is behind it. So that it's a quality program that although there's no credit, you're still learning something that's good quality.
That's correct.
Thank you, Debbie. And I have another question. Does your 24/5 and 24/7 tech support come from individuals who have completed your programs, or were they hired from the traditional job market?
They're actually part of the platform we work on. So HP Life is hosted on something called edX, which is an open source online learning platform. And the organization that we work with to host HP Life on that platform provide our technical support. So these are people that are very familiar with the courses, they're very familiar with the platform and any technical issues like, which browser to use. So they are very helpful. And then I did mention as well, we do moderation of all the courses and all the different languages. And so we can also provide assistance as far as skills or just business questions that users might have as well.
Thank you. I have another question. What is the most popular course at HP Life?
Yeah, social media marketing. So our top two are social media marketing and basics of finance. Basics of finance is about break-even analysis. And social media marketing is really how to get the word out, using the different platforms.
Okay, and one more question. What educational level is required for a user to maximize the benefit of taking these courses?
So we really start at the high school level, and I would say high school to 35 years old, and they are basic courses, and I think there's also a lot of help and guide me along the way. So I think people can learn, at different levels of their education. They can really learn and start applying some of the skills that they learned from HP Live. One thing I didn't mention is that in addition to the courses and the next steps that we also have downloadables for every single course. The downloadables are different templates and tools that you can use to take with you. And they could be like cash flow spreadsheets or break-even analysis, but they also could be tips like, here are some business communication tips. Here are some tips on how to use business communication technologies. So there's a lot of downloadables as well that you can take with you as tips, best practices, actual templates to actually maybe apply to a business idea or a small business or even, in your workplace.
All right, thank you. And I'm getting a few questions about cost, and I believe I'd missed some when Lindsay finished her presentation as well. So I think there's a cost question for SamaSchool as well as for the HP Life Foundation. So maybe, Lindsay, you can start.
Sure. The question is around cost.
Right. What's the cost of the 4 to 6 hours online training?
It is completely free.
Okay, and are there certificates given at the end of the online training for participants?
We are actually in the process of working on a certificate program in conjunction with LinkedIn, and so we anticipate that should be up sometime early next year.
Thank you. And there was also a question for HP Life.
HP Life is free. All you need is the internet connection to access HP Life. It is self-paced. You can access it at any point in time that's convenient for you, and it is completely free. And the URL to access is on the slide that you see in front of you. It's life-global.org.
Great. I have another question for you, Debbie. Does your staff reflect the individuals who both need this type of training and then benefit from it?
Does the staff include, was that the question?
Yes.
I would say yes in some ways. Certainly, I think we come from very similar backgrounds, and I think some of our backgrounds are reflective, and certainly in the audiences that we provide this to.
Great, thanks so much. And I think there were some other questions about the contact Ron mentioned earlier for Etsy. Dina, I believe you posted it in the chat.
Yes, it's in the chat box. So you might have to scroll a little bit up or down, but it should be there.
That was one of the questions that I'd missed earlier. So the person that Ron mentioned, his name is Graham Ashcraft. He's a community engagement specialist, and his email address was also included. All right, if there are any other questions?
This is Dina. If there aren't any questions, well, or people are thinking of them, I have a question now that Lindsay, you mentioned LinkedIn and your collaboration with them. Lindsay and Debbie, are you both seeing a growing use of certificates, of online certificates and badges, for example, that people are using with LinkedIn or with an electronic type of or internet-based resume, as you were talking about earlier, Lindsay? Are you seeing is this a growing trend?
Yeah, I think we are starting to see an increase in the use of online learning and the application of certification as a result of skills gained through those programs. And I think the one thing that we need to be aware of, I think, as folks who are providing some of this content, is making sure that that certificate really does signal competency-based learning that can be applied to the field with which they're trained in, so that the certificate has meaning and value both to the individual who's participating in the training, but also to either the employer or the person hiring another individual on the other side of the transaction. So that's just the one thing we're starting to see a lot more of, but I think there's also a need to validate and ensure quality across the board.
Great, thanks.
Thank you. And I'm also getting some questions about whether or not the webinar will be available later. Yes, it will be. It will be posted on the Department of Energy's website. They have a website for the Energy is Everywhere webinar series, and we will also be posting it on the HUD YouTube Energy is Everywhere YouTube playlist. So it will be possible for us to share this information with you afterwards. And there were some questions about SamaSchool. I'm not sure, but it looks like some people saw it in two different ways. They wanted to know if it's SamaSchool without an S or SamaSchool with an S.
SamaSchool. It's spelled S-A-M-A-S-C-H-O-O-L.
Okay, great. And I have a question about paper-based marketing. I think this might be in response to Debbie's question earlier, or her answer earlier about online marketing. So the question is, do you have a paper-based marketing material that our organization would be able to distribute?
So does that mean offline content? Does that mean paper-based content like our course content? We do not have offline content for HP Life. What we do have is what I mentioned, the downloadables for each course. And so there are templates and tip sheets and best practices for every one of the courses that you can download and use. But we don't have the whole course and the offline content. It's only online content.
Great. Thank you. One more question for HP Life. Would you recommend that an employer suggest these courses to staff that may need additional education or basic skills?
Absolutely. And the nice thing about HP Life is, again, we have 25 courses a day, soon to be 27. The nice thing is if you just want to learn about social media marketing, and that's the area that you need to brush up your skills or learn more about for your job, you can go and take that course. And so it's really easy for you to pick and choose which things that are of interest to you or which things that you might not know enough about, need to improve your skills in.
Great. Well, I'm not seeing any other questions. Oh, wait, here's one more. Oh, nope, not a question. So we are almost at the end of the hour. So if there are no more questions, I do want to thank our participants and our panelists for presenting. I hope this information was beneficial to those who attended. And we do have one more polling question. So we're going to leave that up for about a minute or so. So after participating, we hope that you guys are able to use this. So far, we're getting a lot of yeses. Okay, we're getting some nos. Okay, just a few more seconds. All right, so we're getting about 85% saying yes. Thank you for responding. Oh, and we have one more slide for HP Life. And I just want to leave our contact information up for a few minutes for those who might have any additional questions. I want to thank you all for taking the time to tune in. This webinar was brought to you by an interagency initiative called SEED, which stands for STEM, Energy, and Economic Development. And you can email us at seedinitiative@hud.gov or contact me directly at bernita.c.james@hud.gov. Thank you all so much for attending, and we look forward to you joining our webinar next month. And our guest will be Hippie USA. And I just want to thank our presenters once again and ask everyone to have a good day. Thank you, Lindsay and Debbie and Ron.